Hi, this is McLaughlin. This is week 12 of my course. Week 12, the FMP part, is that actually is the final reflective log because it's the improvements week. Next week, we'll be doing the final evaluation, but obviously, because it's due on Friday, won't be, I don't think there is a reflective log for that day, for that week, so this will be the final one. If there's an extra one, I'll so we'll wrap that up next week. This week was feedback week. So basically what we've done was feedback for everyone's websites and final outcomes, if this were script, videos, whatever. And also people done feedback files. I think I've heard talk about last week when I created a survey. This survey I created. It basically asks different questions based on my work and stuff like that, and like trying to work out. The idea is that the overall idea of this is to work out what can be improved, what can't be, what's the best part, and stuff like that. So I asked questions like, based on the layout of my site, what would you deem to be the genre? This is to make sure I got the right, genre. I didn't want to make, say, a comedy and the website looks like a horror. That would obviously be misselling and wouldn't be properly doing it. And then I got the kind of specific questions about mine, working out what the best music section was, because I thought I had 7 music sections. The idea was to kind of work out where I can improve and stuff like that. So overall, that's what I'd done this week, was kind of doing this feedback, and then obviously taking from the 14 responses I received, I took on basically the feedback and stuff like that. So I filled up people's feedback, mostly review sites and stuff like that. I made sure to give really dense, well thought out feedback. And in return, I did get a good amount of feedback. To give back, what I've done was basically to make sure that I get the best out of this feedback, is that I done this thing, feedback response. So basically, I ran through the website, the question. I said why I asked that question, because I think it's all good to know why I done that question, to give kind of a base knowledge of my thought process. And then I shortly kind of explained what I'll be getting out of that feedback. Obviously, some are longer than others, because some, due to response I got, due to, I don't want to sound cocky, but how much ahead and very well thought out I am with this kind of thing, it's very difficult to feedback with me and stuff like that. But I made sure to really pull something from everything, and I think there's a lot of good feedback. I think a lot of it proved that I think I've done really well on this side. I think I've done overall, I think I'm really well. Some interesting things to note is questions like how could I improve actually accidentally proved that I'd done well, because realism is a genre that's meant to be confusing and weird. And a lot of the feedback I received was the website was confusing and weird. That is proving that the genre works. So let's go into a bit of a problem-solving section for the FMP feedback problem solving. There's 2 bits of problem solving that happened. Was that some feedback was varied and a lot of responses. So this is a reference to, I'll get the right question up, is things like what do you think could be improved, stuff like that. I did get quite a lot of varied responses. What do you think is the best section, stuff like that. As you can see, I got a lot of responses. I think I got a lot of kind of jokey responses and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed that a lot of people didn't really properly fill it up. I did get some good responses, and the thing is, a lot of people said different stuff, and you kind of have to get the census, because if I just go off and change it to everything that they wanted off the feedback, it would be a mess, because a lot of people have different tastes. A lot of people didn't really understand the genre I was making, things like that. That maybe in the future I can make my website more clear and concise on what it's doing. But I tried to get the general census of what I was doing and stuff like that. And I found I'm really well with that, and the solution is by basically getting the general census. I think I've done really well with that, kind of getting the general what people think and stuff like that. Another problem I had was I didn't really get much out of the last 2 questions. Specifically not last, the last 2 kind of type question. This was what's the weakest and what's the strongest. As you can see, some of the responses didn't really have an answer, and then some of them, the problem I had was that these questions basically turned out to be the same kind of thing. It wasn't really a consensus of the Mr. Russo sequence is best, the Notifiable sequence is best. A lot of people felt differently about different sequences, and I felt like if I done them separately as 2 different paragraphs, it would just be repeating myself a lot and being like, oh, or what lesson I learned from it. But this was more of a lesson learned and stuff like that. And I think the idea that you can't please everyone and stuff like that. But I do feel I proud that I was able to make something that is so varied and got a lot of different opinions. I think it's very good for the thriller genre, that is a weird genre, and genre based on people having opinions and stuff like that. I think it's good that I was able to make something that was very unique and stuff like that, and very kind of weird and overall different. So yeah, that was the FMP site review. I got done really well, just kind of working out the precise thing. Or I've been really trying to, I have this problem in written, and especially videos, these reflection course. I do go on a bit of tangents, but I try to be really precise in this feedback and really get to the senses of why and what I was getting out of it. That's why the short paragraphs that I usually do, because I just want it to get nice and easy. And also, I made a list of basically what I would be improving based on the feedback. Just to recap, it was the change in blue sky sequence, graphics more well thought out and less cartoon self-rush. This take on feedback that the misspliced sequence graphics felt a bit too rushed and a bit too stupid. So I kind of took that on, and I'll talk about that when I do the problem solving for the actual improvement, but I took that on, those one improvements. Give the website more balanced breathing room, just when spacing's out, stuff like that, make it just more open and stuff like that. Add explanation text to key videos of fiction and experimentation and outcomes. This came from a question where people basically experimentation and a lot of other sections felt that the experimentation page need more information and easier to read kind of preciseness. So I've done that. So I plan to do that. And then clean up the overall edit, make it a bit more professional, kind of little bits here and then, and spending more time on the edit. That I had this extra time, I thought I'd spend it more on the node one sequence. So let's get into the problem solving with the actual FMP improvements. One of the biggest problems I had was the original file I used for me corrupted. For some reason, I couldn't use it. It just wouldn't work. I tried to upload it, I tried doing it in different versions, stuff like that. It was a lot of issues. So what I had to do was basically I went off the original MP4 that I still have that I used to export in, and then just shoved that into a new Premiere folder. This created issues. I'll jump ahead to the problem 3 because it's to get to this is it made it was harder to edit because basically normal Premiere you can look at each scene and like stuff like that, and break it down, cut out stuff like that. Whereas using the actual theme makes it annoying. So, for example, the "Are you happy" sequence, I couldn't change the kinetic typography in that section because I couldn't actually get into it because it'd been the original MP4. So I decided to use doing what I can. The Mr. Blue Sky sequence was built to be separate anyway, so that wasn't really affected by it, but I kind of done what I can and used that as kind of an advantage, I think, because basically it allowed me for sequences nowhere to run, meant that I could mess around the overall aspect ratio. So I'll show this on my site. Because I'd done it on the MP4, it meant the overall aspect ratio was all messed around with. So scenes like this, what I basically used was I used a pinch tool that I was able to basically to kind of mess around with it, so it messes around the ADR, it messes with the aspect ratio. I think that plays in the surrealism, really breaks the world that the character lives in, the surrealism aspect. I think that actually improves the film. So yeah, that was one of the kind of problems I had done was I had to export off the MP4, and it does slightly lower the quality a tiny bit. It's not really that noticeable, and it really nowhere to run sequence, but that's meant to be very weird in surrealism anyway, so you can get away with it. And I did use also, I sharpened all the footage. As you can see, it gives it this weird kind of off feel and makes this look just kind of weird. I really like and plays into more surrealism, and it is a direct contrast to more the every other scene that's more well polished and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a bit of problem solving. To go back to that second problem solving, I re-edited the sequence, the Mr. Blue Sky sequence. One of the problems I had was basically I couldn't really work out what I wanted out of the sequence and stuff like that, because as I talked about last week, the original sequence only had a limited amount of VFX in key parts, but then I realized it looked weird having small VFX everywhere instead of being overall. So I added overall, but that felt a bit rushed. So basically what I done was I went through the original storyboards and kind of went more with, okay, how can I, use this sequence? I looked at the footage I had and went, how can I use the music notes and really work it out, planned it more, and I think it turned out better. One of the main things I use basically this for is, if you look at the third version, is I actually use it to hide little issues. So for example, this shot, there actually is a bag there in the original footage, but I use the music kind of, I forgot what you call it, like basic music things to basically hide things and issues and stuff like that. As you see for the re-edit, I basically cleaned up the things. I made it a lot more slim, a lot more simpler. For example, originally, I'll show you the second version. If we go for the second version, look, Mr. Blue Sky is written. I didn't think that looked very good, to be honest, and I thought it looked actually just terrible. And I realized you can't really write that well in After Effects because it's not a program built for that. And I don't have a graphics tab that allows you to draw, so I'm drawing mouse. It just didn't work. So what I'd done was basically I used a technique experimented with in the experimentation page, that was using the Are You Happy sequence, basically kinetic typography, and I've done this really actually pretty cool effect where look it goes across. I think it creates something really unique and stuff like that. And like the angle I done it out to like right angle if he's walking. I done it in blue, just blue sky. I done it in the impact font. It's the exact same font as the overall website font. I think it's a very cool little thing. So so about that side tangent, but yeah, I think it's just the artifacts a little more wanted. I basically just you planned it out more. I had this extra time because I'll be honest, I didn't really have many improvements to make to the website based on feedback. So I had this extra time for I thought really nailed down its effect. And finally, it's just a small little problem solved, but I'll go into the main editor. It's very difficult to space things out in the editor, as I talked about just now. Well, 5 minutes ago probably. One of my goals was to kind of space things out. It's very difficult to space things out when you're looking at it because this is the editor. As you can see, you can only see bits and stuff like that. So what I basically done was I zoomed out to about here and worked kind of overall to space it out and stuff like that to make it look just a bit better. And also this is a tiny thing I've done. This will be based on feedback, just based on my own thoughts. I felt that a lot of the images weren't standing out enough. Especially ones with the background where it's the same and looked weird. So basically I put everything in, I gave everything this yellow kind of swept these ones because I liked how they looked setting out, but these yellow borders around it. I think it basically improves the website, makes it look like it makes the images pop a bit more. So that's a small thing I've done when I was looking through my website just to improve it. So yeah, overall this week, if we're talking advantage, I would say it was listening to feedback, you know, like listening to feedback, expanding upon it, etc. I think disadvantage, once again, I did talk about how good this sequence was, but I feel like Miss Boost I think could have been better. I think if I have a graphics tablet, so if I had a graphics tablet, I could have made it look nice. I could have spent a bit more time. I could have got better to understand After Effects if I had to really make it nice and polished. And that's something I really want to do with. So now in my personal plan, I'll be investing around After Effects a lot more, trying to really nail down After Effects. So target review. Last week's target, I will just get on my reflective look from last week, so I'm just a bit unorganized today. If we go to last week's, take on feedback and make the amendments. That was a pretty simple target, and I think I've taken on the feedback really well. I haven't been like nitpicky or anything like that with the feedback. I haven't just not listened to it. I've really made some key improvements to my site. As you can see, the Mr. Blue site is completely re-edited. The website's more spaced out. I've really made paragraphs and stuff like that. And I think I've overall made my website better based on feedback. So I would say that is met. Obviously, as I probably won't be doing a reflection look next week, we won't really have a target. But I think my target overall for the future, because my plan is to go into the film industry, I'm hopefully getting an apprenticeship, is just basically really being able to take on feedback and really being able to kind of nail down my experience and stuff like that, and using this experience, this 2-year film course, really kind of pull from, because I think across this 2-year film course I've learned a lot. I've learned how to use cameras, use edit, Premiere, all these programs, how to work in teams, how to work on my own, and really take on all that feedback from my experience over these 2 years and really make it worth it. So thank you for watching these lecture logs. I know these have been very varied in time. I'm very sorry that one of them was 60 minutes, but I've really been trying to nail them down, stuff like that. I've been changing how I do them and trying to problem solving with my own mental health issues, and that's why they've kind of become less edit heavy, just so I can have myself a break, and so I can be a bit more precise. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, I don't think next week I'll reflect vlog, but if they do, then they do. But hopefully it's the last reflect vlog. So thank you for watching my reflect vlogs for my FMP of Brendan instead.